Okay everyone, so in this video we're going to create our 2-inch grid that will be actually our drawing. We've already put our 1-inch grid on our printout, or you're using the digital image. And now you've decided once you double the size of your print or your smaller image, your total size will be 14 by 22. 18 by minus 14, because this is the width. The width of this pad is 18 inches. Minus the width of your image leaves you with 4 inches divided by 2 is going to give you 2 inches on each side. So what I do is I just come up here and I make a tick mark 2 inches in, and then another tick mark here 2 inches in, and I just connect using my T-square, some long straight edge. You're going to need an inch border on the top and bottom, so consider that as you're drawing your line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this all the way down, and I need 2 inches on this side. I already have a tick mark there. 2 inches, 2 inches here. I'm going to draw a line on this side. And now the height of my object, oops, must have something on my ruler. I left a little bump right there. Make sure your tools are clean. I just got a little bump. Okay, so the height of my object, of my image, is 22. The height of my paper is 24. So 24 minus 22 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. So I know I have a 1-inch border on the bottom and a 1-inch border on the top. So I'm just doubling my image and centering it on the page. I know it sounds kind of complicated. If you can come up with an easier way to center it, please be my guest. But I'm just doubling the size of my image and I'm enlarging it on the page. So we're going to go 1 inches to 2 inches. So 1 inch here, tick mark, another 1-inch tick mark here, and I'm going to connect. Like so. All right, so that's the perimeter of my image. So now you want to go from 1 inch to 2 inches, right? So this is the size of your image with 1-inch squares. This is going to be the size of your image with 2-inch squares, or the size of your final drawing, right? So now I'm going to come up here just like you did on that image, and I'm going to make 2-inch tick marks. 2, 4, 6. Make sure you count right. 8, 10, 12. Let's put this up here for now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I'm going to go back over here. 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Back down here, make sure you're counting by 2s, or just go every 2 inches. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, etc. Uh-oh, something doesn't seem right. Let's see. Make sure you don't use your tick marks. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2, 4, 6, 8. And that bottom one comes down a little bit further. Make sure the same. Okay, well, I'm going to connect and see what happens. It should be straight. So here's the thing. When you go to connect your tick marks now, keep this very light in here because you will have to erase this as you do your drawing. You don't want to have this grid in there in your final drawing. So keep it very light. Don't push down on your pencil. I don't know if you guys can even see that line. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. You should be drawing lines on here, but they're going to be pretty light. Hopefully you can see them. I think you can see them. Pretty light lines. Keeping them light. because you will be erasing as you go, especially once you get into that drapery. You don't want to see a 2-inch grid inside that drapery, right? So I'm going to keep connecting my tick marks so that these are very even. Please do not try to eyeball this, like only do one side and just wing it, because they will be crooked. I can guarantee you. I've had students try that. So make sure you put 2-inch tick marks on both sides and very lightly draw your horizontal lines connecting your tick marks, like so. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to make my 2-inch tick marks up here. 2, 4, I'm going to get my hair in there. 6, 8, 10, 12, and that one is 2 inches left. Starting from the left again, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and you should have 2 left. Yes. So now I'm going to connect those tick marks. Going this way, keeping your lines very light again. Okay, make sure you hold that ruler really steady so it doesn't slip as you draw that line. And I think I'm going to use the other side because this side has a bump. If I can. Well, maybe I can't. Make sure that tool is clean. Oh, there it is. I think it might be some glue. I think I got it. Okay. Back over here, connecting my 2-inch tick marks. Hold it really firm in the middle. Keep those lines light. Connecting my tick marks, top and bottom. Keeping those lines light. So these are now 2-inch squares. You're going from 1 inch to 2 inches, or doubling the size of your image in your drawing. 1 to 2-inch squares. Still finishing my light lines. 1 left. Okay, so my grid is done. I have my 2-inch grid and I have my 1-inch grid. So on the 1-inch grid, I have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. If you can see that G. Not a very good G. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, A, and do this lightly too, so you can erase it when you're done. D, E, F, G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So for this next week, I want you to grid your drawing or get a digital image with a grid on it. You're going to submit it in the Dropbox. You're also going to create your enlarged grid. But before you submit it, I want you to isolate one square of your choosing. Let's say we isolate, this is 2A, right? So this is the letter A up here. 2A has her little hand in there. So I'm going to isolate that. I think I'm even going to tape it down so it doesn't move. So this is 2A I'm isolating on my grid. That's the 1 inch. This is your 1 inch square. This is your 2 inch square. 2 inches. And I'm going to go to 2A and I'm going to isolate that square now. I'm going to tape it down. Maybe tape it down in 2 places. No, I'll just tape it down in 1 place. It's good to be able to kind of peek underneath, see what's happening. So I'm going to look at this now, and I want you guys to do this before you finish your drawing. Just do 1 box because I want to make sure that you're understanding how to do this. If you actually made a cross through here, you'd see that her hand is not quite in the middle. it's coming from about 1/4 of the way in. A little bit on the inside of that is her hand. Here's the bottom of her hand. And it's coming up diagonally above the center, over, and it looks like she's holding, I'm not sure, a little apple or something. I'm not quite sure what. So let's come in and you're just doing a very light line drawing. You're going to add shading later. We're only doing line drawings to start on this, okay? So then it comes up. Maybe it comes from about here. It comes down, and you can kind of see some fingers up there. And I'm going to look what's underneath there. So maybe this comes out a little further as that hand comes down. So I just want you to do one box like this, simple line work, and that's it. So you're going to submit that with your grid for next week, because I want to make sure your grid is correct, and I want to make sure that you're transferring your squares correctly, because then you're going to you would probably go to the square, in this case maybe underneath that, and I'd go here and see that little part of her arm. Then I'd isolate this, but I don't want you to get this far. But you see how her arm comes down from this point. You have to make sure you're connecting. So it's actually right here. And it curves a little bit beyond halfway. So it comes to about there, would be the second one. If you want to do 2, you can. But I want to make sure that you're isolating each square, and you're only doing 1 square at a time. Simple line drawing, no shading on this yet. We're not going to do shading until your line drawing is complete and very accurate based on this grid system. So I hope that makes sense.